What's the, there's got to be, like, there's a silver lining in all this. What's the silver lining or the one thing that you're enjoying out of all this, by the way?
I've had 47 straight dinners at home, which has never happened in my adult life. And, having a daughter who's a senior to be in college and having a freshman in high school son, it's kind of been fun to hang out with them. So yeah, there are positives.
And I know you're a wine guy, but do you have any cooking skills?
I would like to think I can cook a little bit. Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, I can't obviously fall in line with the Cusimano family, but I can grill a strip.
All right. So there have been so many different plans out there, and I know you don't want to like overreact every time a new plan comes out, but this one does seem to be kind of interesting with three divisions. You cut down on the travel. You play the games in your home ballparks. When you read this, and I'm sure you've been familiar with it, what was your impression of this new plan?
Well, first off, a lot of the things that you're reading about or hearing about, obviously from a league level, we are very engaged and discussing a lot of what these options may or may not look like. And I think the very first thing everybody has to realize that's listening to this or seeing this tonight is the first and foremost is you have to get past the medical and health issues. And if you can do that, then you can start really trying to focus on what some type of baseball may look like. And so when you read about something that was like written in the USA Today, obviously for me to start commenting on things that really aren't that far down the road, it's difficult. The hope is that we are playing Major League Baseball this year. The hope is that it might be in home cities, but there's a lot of hurdles to get through or get over before we can really get to that point. And right now, there is a lot of optimism that there will be some form of baseball. And regardless of exactly what that looks like today, I think that the best strategy is to be open-minded and obviously accept that there might be some change than what's considered normal. But we all are going through or adjusting to what's a new normal. And so I think from a baseball standpoint, I think our fans, our players, Major League Baseball as a whole would just like to be, getting back on the field, regardless of who gets to actually watch it live versus on TV.
Do you think, though, when it does come back, if and when it does come back, it's just going to have to be different? I mean, different divisions, maybe more teams in the postseason. It's going to be different, or what do you think?
Again, a lot of that depends on each state and local municipalities on what they are allowing teams to do. And so, if those hurdles are so hard to get past, then having some form of baseball where it is more of like the spring training type model, then that would be something that's still better than nothing. But, our hope, the Cardinals' hope, is that still something happens here in St. Louis.
And do you believe if and when it does come back, at least initially, there won't be any fans?
I mean, it's hard to imagine that with the physical distancing or social distancing phrase that you're going to get to a point where that's going to be something that we can actually do. But the one thing baseball has on its side right now is we still have time. There's still a lot of summer left. And so the opportunity to perhaps maybe gradually get to a point where fans can see the game would be something I think everybody would welcome. But it's really hard to say on, what is it, April 20 or April 29th, that may or may not happen. I just don't know.
Do you believe a 100-game season is representative enough?
Oh, I do. I mean, I think an 81-game season would be representative enough. I mean, I think like right now, the world, our country is looking for some form of optimism. And so just doing something is better than nothing. And, to say, well, it wasn't a 162-game season, I get that. But we know that's not likely now. And so, obviously we'll take the next best thing.
You would need reserves, obviously, not just players on your major league roster. So this would also mean minor league baseball would have to come back. And I'm sure that's part of all your ongoing discussion.
Yeah, I don't know what that exactly looks like. Clearly, you're going to need either expanded rosters or the ability to what we refer to a lot of times is called a taxi squad, and those numbers would just have to be larger. So I think the complexity of just trying to get Major League Baseball back and then trying to decide what minor league baseball looks like, I think that's even a longer shot.
I want to ask you about a couple of things today. Ted Simmons, who's waited a long time to get into the Hall of Fame, and now news today is that Ted and the Hall of Fame ceremony has been postponed. I mean, he's going to go in, but boy, a guy's waited a long time, now has to wait another summer.
Yeah, that was tough. I actually saw that email right before I clicked onto your Zoom, but yeah, it's a bummer. Both Teddy and obviously Larry Walker were two guys that I was really happy that they got in, and I was actually hoping to attend because I knew them both personally. And you know, I do feel bad for them both. But to your point, Teddy's waited a long time, and I guess he gets to just ride it out one more year. And you know, I think the anticipation of going into the Hall of Fame and what that means, people realize who he is now and what he accomplished, probably more than ever. And I think, you know, he can still have a smile on his face. And even though it's delayed, it's still a special time.
And then Yadier Molina, you've always said, Bill DeWitt has always said, you wanted him to finish his career as a Cardinal. That's what he always wanted to do. And then he said today, I want to play 2 more years. And because of COVID-19, if I don't get that second year, I'd be willing to look elsewhere. What did you think when you read those comments?
Look, I understand that right now is probably not the ideal time for people to be talking about contracts or trying to negotiate. Frankly, you can't. But you know, I think when the time comes and when we have a better idea of what baseball is going to look like when we get past COVID-19, then I think we can have that serious discussion. You know, obviously Yachty is one of the faces of our franchise, not only in the time he's been playing, but historically. So we understand the importance that he means to this franchise, but we also have to be realistic on what the game's going to look like when we return. So, you know, I think time will tell there, right?
Final thought. I know there's a lot of things you miss about the game. What do you miss most, though? I mean, what's the one thing, boy, I wish I missed this the most about baseball?
You know, I think it's the games and it's the interaction that you have throughout that day, whether it's the people you see in the office, which you no longer see. This may surprise you, but the interaction I would have on a day-to-day basis with our local media, that does not exist anymore. And then the players and the staff, and that routine is just not there. It's not that we're not busy. It's not that we're not working right now, but what we're focused on and how we're getting through the day is far different than what's normal. And so that adjustment, and when you talk about what you miss, I just miss the people that you interact with day in and day out.
Thank you for being a gentleman, sir. We really appreciate it.
He wants to say goodbye since yours was barking.
That's a much better behaved dog.